Okay, welcome to Bitrix24 Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. Our address details are on the screen there. We're based in the UK and have offices in the US and the UAE. And today we're going to be answering questions on any subject area of Bitrix24. We've had some come in by email, but if you want to post your own questions in the chat window, please do that, and we'll stay on until all the questions have been answered. You can ask questions on any area of the system. So yeah, post them in the chat window or email them to live@interface.com and we will answer those. If you don't if you want a more in-depth, if you have some more complex questions, then we can arrange a one-to-one call with you, demo the features that you're particularly interested in. So get in touch with us as well on sales@interface.com and we can arrange that demo at a later stage. But we will kick off with some questions that have come in via email. I like the conference call feature. Is there a limit on how many people I can have on a call? So there is a limit. It's been increased recently. It's now 10 users on a voice or a video call. So a quick look at what we're talking about. So if you go into a work group, in fact, you don't need to go into a work group. You can open up this window here, and this will show you your current chats, and you can create a new one from here as well. But if we open up this look one that's got, let's go in through this way. If we open up this, let me just find a different work group that has it enabled. Bear with me a second. Okay, looks like we don't have it enabled. I apologise for that, unfortunately, on this system for some reason. But either inside a work group or from your chat bar on the right-hand side, you can access conversations. They can start as text message conversations, and then you can convert them into it. There we go. This one has it enabled, so we can have a chat conversation, instant message conversation with this group of users. I can invite in additional people to this group, and then we have the option to do a voice or a video call as well there. And the answer to the question is there a limit? There's a limit. Don't think there's any limit on the number of people you can have in a chat conversation, as far as I know, because by default, if you're using this tool inside a work group, all the members of the work group get added to the default chat group. So I think you can have an instant message conversation with any number of users, but it will be limited, and this option won't be available if you've got more than 10 people in that group. But yeah, so the answer is 10. Essentially, with this, you have all the features you have inside Skype. You've got video calls, voice calls, you've got chat, text messaging. You can share files by clicking on this link here. You can actually share screens as well and do emojis and things. So full functionality you have of Skype. It's not a separate application that you download. It's built into your browser. Can I limit the amount of space each user has in their drive area? So I don't think you can make a restriction on how much space is actually available in the drive area. Certainly on the cloud there isn't a limitation. So if we have a quick look at drives, then inside a work group, each work group has a drive space, and then each user has a link to their own drive on the left hand side. This will link you also to each of those groups. So this is a drive from a work group, but you can also have your own dedicated space inside here as well. You can't limit this. there is a limit depending on which package you're on. There are some limits on the total number of space. If you're on a self-hosted, then you can set some limits on these. You can also limit types of files that people can add and things like that as well. But on the cloud, you can't limit it individually. As far as I know, you can't. But on the self-hosted, you'll be able to do more with that. So we'll look at this cleanup. No, it doesn't give you any. There's no settings to allow you to define space per individual users on that. Okay. Do you offer training on site? I need help to understand the CRM. We do. We can provide online training depending on whereabouts you are in relation to our offices, or we can come to your office and provide on-site training, and indeed that's what we do every day. We're in different places training people on Bitrix24, so we can come to you, and what we would do in advance is have some calls, or have at least one call and understand what it is you want to get out of the training. So which areas you want to look at, what you're trying to achieve. Might be that some of it turns out not to be training requirement, but more an implementation, a setup requirement. So it's so we would really scope out what it is you want to achieve, and then we'd come back with a plan. We might say we might do some of it as implementation, set up what you want, and then go and train you on how we've done it. It tends to be quicker, the best way to go about it. But we're flexible in how we can do that. Okay, how do I construct / amend business processes? So that's quite a big question. We'll have a look at where all the business processes exist first of all, because if I go into let's look at documents. Once we're in documents first of all, if I go into a work group, to a drive, and if I go into my configure, go into business processes, then I can access the business processes for the drives within here. And your question is how to construct and amend them. Well, you can create new ones here, and you can click into each one and amend that. But really, I guess it's what you want to do. Maybe we could just look into a simple business process in the CRM and see what the business process builder tool looks like. If you go into your CRM and settings and into automation and business processes, let's find one that sits in the company here, create project. So this is a business process that is run manually on a company record as and when required, and essentially it creates a work group here, and then it creates a series of tasks and adds documents and then notifies people. So it creates a group, creates the tasks that you need to do to deliver that project, invites all the people in. So this is quite a good simple example of a business process. How you amend these, I can use any of these standard action blocks that exist on the right hand side. If I wanted to create a calendar event, so say once we've created our work group and tasks, we have to have a meeting to kick off this project, you can do that by using that standard calendar event action block. Click in the settings, and I can define the parameters of that, the date and time, and who's going to be involved in that meeting. But of course you can edit any of these other action items. So if I click in this notification here, for instance, then probably going to want to change some of the text that's sent out with that notification. That's quite simple to do. So they're relatively easy to amend if you're doing things like that. Just those notification things, creating them will depend on what you want to achieve. So there are some standard business processes that are available inside the activity stream up here for things like leave requests and purchase requests and things. There are some standard processes in the drive. There aren't any standard processes in the CRM, or they're nearly always going to be custom to your specific sales processes. So you have to build it from scratch, but they're fairly straightforward to do. Let's just come out of this, and I'll just show you just quickly. So I go into my company. I want to create one in a company. I would click on Add Template. First thing it does is ask me for a name, so I can change that default name. Second thing I want to do is decide when the process is going to be run. Is it going to be run when added, or when changed, or indeed both, or neither? So that would be when a new company record is added, that triggers the business process. When any of the fields in a company record are changed, that would trigger the business process, or either of those two. If we deselect them, then it just becomes a business process that we can run manually. That one we looked at for creating a project, that generally gets run manually. When a sales guy wins a new deal, he wants to create a project to deliver that, he runs that from the company record in a manual way. So we create that, and then we have a start and an end point. In its simplest form, it might be something you want to do. You just want to send that notification. So let's say when added, call this new company. Call it new company when added, and we'll send out a notification. I won't fill that out now because it won't let me save it unless I complete all those fields there. But basically, when somebody adds a new company, we're going to notify somebody that a new company has been added. And of course, you can build that, make those more complex. Let's have a look at something like a condition. So it might be that actually, when a new company is added, provided we meet certain condition, let's say the company type is of a certain type, send out this notification. If the company type is a different type, then we can then send out a slightly different notification, or send a notification to different people. So these conditions are looking at fields in the company. When they match certain criteria, then it's triggering, it's processing down the relevant branch of the process. So how you construct them is depending on what you want to do, but all the tools are here to construct your processes. If you wanted to get in touch with us with a workflow description of your workflow, then we can either train you on setting that up, or we can set it up for you. Let's put our contact details up there. Okay, can you show me how to get a list inside a contact? Yeah, can do that. So if we go into, let's have a look for our lists. Where are our lists? Bear with me a second. Maybe we don't have them set up on here. Let's just go into a work group, set one up inside a work group. So if we go into a work group, and if we go into our lists section here, we can create a new list here. What we want to do is create a list and associate it, in this case, to a contact, a CRM record, and we'll see where it appears then on that CRM record. Let's just edit one of these for speed. So we have here various fields. I'm going to add, let's say this is called expenses. Let's say we want to associate an expense with a contact in the CRM. Then we can go into customize fields, and we can click on add a new field. We'll call it contact. We need to select the correct type of field, so we're going to bind it to CRM items. when the page refreshes, gives us our default CRM items. We only want the option to give the option to bind it to a contact in the CRM, so I'm going to deselect the rest of them and we'll save that field. Let's go back in. Let's show that field now in our list view. Click in the settings here, called contact. Let's apply that. Now all these are unpopulated. There's a new field. Let's click into one of them and we'll edit this. So the contact field is available now. I'm going to link it to Graham Smith and I will save that. We can see now that Graham Smith is responsible for this particular contact, this particular item in this expenses list. If I click through to the contact Graham Smith, then I should see the link to that expenses list here. So by default, if you associate a list with a contact, it will then create the menu item and show you that list. It doesn't of course show me every single item in that list, it only shows me that one that's related to this. So it allows you to do two different views. I can view just the expenses associated with Graham Smith. Go into the main list here, I can view all of them. I think I could actually do a filter inside here as well. Let's have a look, contact, and then I could filter by my contact inside the main list and just see that one for Graham Smith. So that's quite a good way of creating a table of information that's associated with really anything, but in this case a contact in the CRM. Okay, what is this, sir? Well, it's a, do you mean what is the purpose of the session? It's a open session on Bitrix24. It allows you to ask any questions you have. So if you're stuck on something or you want to know a bit more, then this will allow you to ask the question and get a response, hopefully, that's going to help you. So that's what it is. Can I build a funnel inside Bitrix just like in ClickFunnels? If yes, can you show me how? I don't know what ClickFunnels is, but can I build a funnel inside Bitrix? You can. So if we go into deals, then deals have, we call them funnels here. So you can create any number of different funnels or pipelines, and each one, as you'll see, we're in West Coast office here. This one has a 3 different stages to it. I just open up one of these deals, you can see those stages at the top, and then we can close, win or lose it up here. What you'll notice, if we switch to a different one, this one called hardware sales, then this one's got a lot more stages to it. It can also have different workflows associated with it. So you drop a deal into a specific workflow, funnel, and it will abide by different rules as part of the workflow. So yeah, and you can customize these different stages. You can have as many funnels as you want. If we click into this link at the bottom of that list, then we have something called funnels and tunnels. So this allows you to associate one funnel with another one. And for instance, we have here when an opportunity in this particular funnel is won, then it goes to create a new deal in this funnel at this stage. So it's called a tunnel. See what we can do to configure it. Change the responsible person, do things to change the name. If you want to change the name slightly, choose where it's going to. You can add some conditions, you can have a time delay on it, and you can add some conditions which are really good. So I might want to do it in most cases, but some criteria, I guess, things like the value needs to be over a certain amount or something. You can add those conditions in here, or let's say probability. is not less than 50. So you can do all sorts of things to manage your opportunities, to do automation on those opportunities, and just allow you to see where you are with all the different opportunities in the business. So the question was, can I build a funnel just like in ClickFunnels? Yeah, I mean, so those are funnels, and this is how we can create tunnels from one to another. So how one deal can change into another deal with certain conditions applied to it. I don't know if that's same as ClickFunnels. I've not used that, but I would guess that it's it's very flexible. I guess that you can set up whatever you want really in this. Is there any way to stop people from exporting data from the CRM? Yes, there is. We go into the CRM. And if we go into our settings and into permissions and access permissions, you need to be an administrator to get onto this page. And so this works by creating roles and then assigning users to those roles. So in this case we have administrators have the administrator role, and then we've got a sales department north and a sales department south, and they both get the same roles over here. And you can go into as much detail as you need on this, but probably going to want to restrict the sales teams from exporting data. So let's have a look at our sales executive role here. Click into the edit button, and is a way to stop people from exporting. This is the export column. I have it set at access denied. So currently these people can't export contacts or companies. The options you've got is to change that so that people can export personal contacts and companies, etc. So those are those records that they're responsible for. You can do things about allowing them to export things which are being managed by other people in their team. You'll need to go down and do this for all that are relevant when you're looking at things like deals, because we've got a lot of different deal pipelines in here. You need to create the setting for individual stages of a deal, so you can actually change the settings different based on where the deal is at on the stages. Quite often a good example of this would be where you allow a deal to be open to a team of salespeople, but you then restrict access to editing that deal once it's been won or lost. So it's kind of locked down at that stage. Can I also build funnels for affiliate marketing? Well, you can use, I couldn't tell you specifically for affiliate marketing, but you can use deals. I'll show you how it works. You can use, you can create your deal. Let's have a look at a pipeline that has some deals in it. Create your deal. This is what a deal looks like. Has products associated with it. It has somebody who's responsible for it. You can create additional fields. It has something like an expected close date. Has these stages that we spoke about across the top. So I don't know how you want to use it, but those are deals. They sit in, as you can see here, these are all the different pipelines. You can move a deal from one pipeline to another. So I'm sure you can use deals for affiliate marketing. Yes. Let's put our contact details on the screen, and post your questions if you have questions in the chat window, and we will answer those. If I purchase a cloud license in the UK, where is my data stored? So I believe the data center in the UK is in the London area. but it's certainly within the UK. If you're on continental Europe, I think it's in Belgium. Again, it's within the EU there. In the US, there's 2 or 3, I think, different locations. So they're stored in different data centers around the world. They're all stored on Amazon Web Services. So I think there's probably some information on this if you were to Google it, Bitrix24, data center, data location, storage location. If you have very specific requirements about your data, how it's managed, how it's handled, then you can self-host, or you can talk to a partner. We can host it in our data center. Again, we actually use Google's cloud compute engine, which is very similar to Amazon. You can choose your region, so you can choose where that's going to be. Second option you have is to host it on your own server. You have an in-house data center, put it on that machine. We work with lots of businesses that host Bitrix24 in-house in their own in-house managed data center for compliance reasons, especially in banking sector and government sectors. You can, of course, rent some web space yourself, and then we'll help you install it on that web server. So you've got different options, but on the cloud, if you're in the UK, data will be held in the UK. Okay, I rented a number via telephony. I had to create a new number via Twilio for SMS via Bitrix24 is a way just to use my Twilio number in place of the rented number. I don't know if you can use your rented Twilio number. You would have to contact Twilio and ask them if they allow you SIP trunks that allow you to point the number over. You can't port numbers into Bitrix, so you can't permanently transfer it over, but it would be dependent on whether Twilio allow SIP trunks on those numbers. If so, then you can rent the SIP connector, $49 a month, and you can integrate that number into Bitrix. But yeah, it's dependent on whether Twilio would allow you that SIP connector. You'd have to contact them to see whether they do or not. I need to generate forms to embed into my website. Is there a way I can do this? Yes, you can. If we go to CRM again, and if we click on CRM forms, so we have some forms already here. Let's click on, you can add a new form up here, but let's click on edit. And so this is an inquiry form. You've got their name, location, reason for inquiry, things like that. So any fields that exist in any of the CRM modules here, you can drop into this form. Put date of birth in, take that one out. So any standard fields or any fields that you create custom, they'll become available to drop into this form. So you can build up your form here. You can then change some of the settings that are available, who's going to be responsible for the record that this creates. So it needs to create an item inside Bitrix. In this case, it's creating a deal. It's going to be assigned to John Smith. Got some settings around how you manage duplicates. Can do field rules as well, so you can actually create fields which are dependent on the answers to other fields. Can be very useful so that forms are not too long. You're not asking people stuff that's irrelevant. Change some of the styling here. You can add your own CSS style sheet to design that. And let's just save that form. If we save that, we get a link here. Let's click on that link. That shows you the location hosted on Bitrix or on your own server wherever you're hosting Bitrix. if you want to embed that form, you can use that form there. If you want to embed it, then get the embed code here, and you can use that in your, doesn't say what sort of website platform you're using, but you should be able to embed that in any website platform. You can just embed it into the page. You can create it as a link or a button, and you can create it as a pop-up after a time delay. This one delays 5 seconds here. You can change that to suit. So that will, when we've completed, that will create, say in this case, it'll create a deal. I think quite often forms, you would use a form to create a lead, but depending on how you work. Let's have a look. Can I embed multiple live chat widgets into my website? I think you can. Let's go and have a look at a chat widget. So we have here website widget or live chat. Let's just open up this. So we have here a few different widgets. So you can create more than one widget. Can we specify? Yes, I mean, you can create more than one widget. If you embed it on your website, then it will appear on every page, unless, I think, we might be able to specify. Let's have a look. Here we go. So you can specify which page this particular widget appears. So it might be that you want one on your help section of your website. That's one widget. That's going to be those messages are going to be assigned to a certain team. On your sales pages, you might want a different widget. It's going to get assigned to different people. So with this particular widget, we can specify it will display on all pages except our support pages and any other pages you want to exclude, and then you can create a second one for those pages, or maybe easier, just specify which particular pages it's going to appear on. So yes, you can multiple live chat widgets on my website. Yes, you can, and somewhere in here specify a welcome messages. Might be different if they're different widgets on different pages of your website. Somewhere in here you can specify which you can create a team of people that are going to be responsible for responding to those messages. So any messages that come in, they appear as a chat over here. You can open the message and reply directly from Bitrix. You can then save that. You can set it to automatically save as a lead, or you can save that as a new lead in Bitrix. So you capture, if they're typing things like their email addresses and telephone numbers and names, you can capture that information into automatically populate in the correct fields inside a lead. So you capture the transcription of the conversation as well. So very simply, you don't lose any of that information. Was there a message once form? Was there a message once form completed and maybe a spot for a link to download PDF? Well, once the form is completed, then I guess you're talking about this form. There it will submit and then give you a message to say that the form has been completed. A link to download PDF. No, you can't download a PDF, but that information is saved. If it's a lead, then it gets saved into a lead. Let me show you what you could do. It will generate a lead inside Bitrix and go into the CRM. Open up, here's a message from a live chat. Open this lead, and what we can do, if I click into automation here, if you want to have a PDF or something, I'm sure you can create a PDF, but you can certainly, if you wanted the customer to have a record of that conversation somehow, then you could send an email and copy the relevant fields that you want to copy into that email. To say, thank you for your contacting us. Here's a history of the conversation you had, and so you could do that. If you did that inside there, you can select. Got these options here to be able to pull in information that's populated in the lead field. So you can choose which of those fields you want to embed inside your email, which you're going to send out. So you create your email. It will automatically send based on when a new lead is created. So it will automatically send every time. I mean, you might just want to add in a condition to it, so look, condition. You might want to look at source. Just check that if somebody's creating leads manually or creating leads in the organization a different way, you might just want to put a condition in so that this email, thank you email with the follow-up information, is only sent if the lead has come from that specific form. And I think you can select forms inside here, CRM form. So yeah, you want to make sure that people are receiving those emails, that it's relevant to them. Let's put our contact information on the screen and post any more questions you have in there. We've got a couple of other questions that came in by email. I'm looking for a holiday booking system for my team. Does Bitrix have this? Let's have a look. So we can do that if you click into the workflows. So a user would click into their workflows, into their leave approval link, and they can select the dates that they want. You can customize this form if you want to collect more information, or indeed you want to collect less. If you're only using it for annual leave and not these other ones, then you might just assume it's annual leave and remove that field. You can do that. But yeah, you can submit that. There's a process that runs behind that then, whereby as a manager, I get to approve. I get a request to approve. I don't have it in here, but I get something like this. Please approve the leave, and I accept or refuse that leave. Yes, you can. There is a holiday booking system. Once it's approved, it goes on the absence chart. Let's see if we can find the absence chart. Has it gone on this site? Louise. Okay. So we have I'll show you the absence chart in a second, but we have a plugin, which is our own developed plugin, which allows you to also create an entitlement per employee, how many days they're allowed per year, and when those requests are approved, then it will reduce the number of remaining days, so you can manage that entitlement. That's not a standard feature. That's something that we sell for the self-hosted product only, but it does add some additional features, some other features whereby you can book half days and things as well. So it's also you can specify different working weeks in that. So if somebody was to book say in the UK, a Friday and a Monday, they put those two dates in, then it won't take into account the weekends because they're non-working days. And you can have different working weeks. If you're in the Middle East, you can have the working week that's right for over there. So yeah, how do I import leads into the CRM? Let's have a look. So you can add leads manually. You can create leads from forms and things like that, which we've looked at. Create leads from chat widgets. You can create leads from integrating with Facebook and all sorts of different ways of creating leads in the contact center. You can import them. So click on import up here. Choose your CSV file. In fact, here we go. Import file example here. So you can download a file example. What I would probably do actually, if we just go back, what I would probably do is I would first of all download some leads I have in the system. You might want to just do a filter up here, just download one. To make sure you've got these columns selected, because you'll only download the data from columns are selected. I click on the settings button, choose which fields you're interested in importing. So let's put date of birth and things like that. Choose which field you're interested in importing. And then you've got your columns. You can do your export to Excel. That will then give you the spreadsheet with the column headers. You can then populate that spreadsheet and do your imports. So you need to import from a CSV. So save your spreadsheet as a CSV, and then change these settings. Usually comma, I think, and then you can run through the import wizard there. So it's fairly straightforward, I think. So I like Bitrix on-premise, but our company has no IT department. Are there any alternative hosting solutions? So I think we've touched on this already. This came in by email, but you can host it in-house. Yeah, you must have an in-house IT team that understand servers. So otherwise, we would definitely not recommend it. So if you don't have that, then the solutions, you can rent a web space, but you've got the same sort of problems that you've got to be able to know how to manage those. So you can, we can host it for you on in our data center. We will install it. We will migrate you from your cloud Bitrix24 instance if you have one. If you're importing data from another system, we'll help you do that. We'll configure it the way you need it setting up, and we'll train you on it, and we'll also provide support for you, so help to improve the system, but also we'll be supporting the server. So if there's any problems on the server, we're responsible for that. So you don't need an IT department if you want to host it through a partner who'll do it for you. We charge, I believe, around $2,000 per annum for a server to host Bitrix. The licensing is slightly different. You pay on an annual basis for the licenses. For some of them, some of the small user licenses, like the 12 user license, can be very low cost. After the first initial investment of the lifetime purchase of the license, the annual costs for maintenance and updates can be quite low cost. I mean, extremely low in cost compared to something like Dynamics or CRM or Salesforce, or a number of other systems can be very low in cost. But the costs are different. It's priced differently. You do need to consider cost for the server, and also cost for some enhanced support, some telephone support, because the product itself is a much bigger product. You have this control panel area at the top. I can create and edit pages and sections using these wizards up here. You can access the control panel, which allows me to configure all sorts of areas of the system in quite a lot of detail. You can actually also access files and folders. So you can drill down into all the system files as well, and if you're experienced with PHP, then you may want to attempt to edit the PHP files here if you want to make changes. The only thing that we always say is that Bitrix is built on its own framework. So you may be knowledgeable of PHP, but you should also understand how the Bitrix framework operates before you attempt to do any sort of code level changes, but it is open code system, which allows you to do quite a lot of stuff, and considering the cost of the self-hosted license, which say is pretty low, relatively speaking, you can create quite good systems at a relatively low cost, really. Okay, I don't have any more questions, but if you have more questions, please post them, and I will answer them. Normally 2 of us here, so if you subscribe to, I think you need to subscribe to Interface and Bitrix24 and hit the bell button to get notifications. But we have we come on with 2 of us, answer questions at the same time every week for about an hour. If you subscribe, you'll get an email or a pop-up with a link to the URL. It changes every week, so there's not one that you can save. But YouTube change it, it'll email it out to you when we're live. So doesn't look like we have any more questions, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Please subscribe and see you next time.